I'm Brianna.
And I'm Elise. We're sisters. And this is Chit-Chat and Cheers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chit-Chat and Cheers.
Welcome.
Thanks for joining us again. Yeah. All
What is it,
right.
episode 11?
Episode 11. Double digits.
Lucky
So
number
exciting.
19 is mine. Just saying.
19's your lucky number?
It is.
Oh, 18 is my lucky number.
Well, how do you know? It's like
We're
we're
right in a
sisters.
row. I've lost my phone. Oh, here we are. Wanted to quickly do a stat check. How do I see all together? Can I not see all together? All time of the last 10 episodes. Well, we only have 10. So let me do some quick math here. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, I would just like to say a thank you to our fans in Finland, the Netherlands, and Winnipeg. You guys are great. A huge shout out to our friends in Brownsburg, Indiana, and to all of our listeners who are yet to join us. These are the people that have made us successful. Someday, if you have a yacht and are independently wealthy, we'll remember you.
A yacht. I don't think this podcast has yacht money.
You never know. We could find some interested bajillionaire who thinks we have great potential.
3, 4,
Well, I'll just
5.
tell everyone I am currently on day 3 or 4, I can't remember, of a 60-day challenge. And technically alcohol is not supposed to be part of it. But for Chit Chat and Cheers, I have made a very crucial exception.
You should.
That's right.
As you should. Okay.
Okay, we'll talk.
Go. No, you go.
We have to do 7 hours of sleep at night, half your body weight in ounces of water, 15 minutes of reflection. There's a workout every day.
You're going
30 grams of protein with every meal. And I'm doing pretty well. I've only missed a couple of checks over the 4 days. Like yesterday, I didn't get my 7 hours of sleep because I had to go to the hospital until 1 a.m., but I survived.
Work-wise. You were working.
Yeah,
you were in.
I was working. But I had a really great response from my staff. We ran a mock code blue, and there were some things we could definitely improve upon, but the takeaways were really great, and everyone was really engaged, which is really fun.
I even know what a code blue is. That's cardiac arrest.
It is, yes.
Like me. The reason I know that, I just read a book where at the very end there's a big code blue, and it's like a whole hullabaloo.
Did they get him back?
Huh?
Did they get him back?
Well, I don't want to spoil it.
We don't know what book you're talking about.
I was going to tell you what book I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
It's called Ward D by Frida McMahon. McMahon, is that her name? Hold on, I'm going to look that up. Yeah, McFadden. Frida McFadden, excuse me. McMahon, I'm pretty sure, is like some other guy. No, Frida McFadden.
Steamy McMahon.
There you go. She wrote The Housemaid, and have you heard of that one? Oh, she's a thriller. It's like suspense thriller, which normally isn't really like my genre that I would go. Smut? No, there's no smut. Yeah, it's not really my genre. I usually stick to the romance or fantasy, but we did a book club, Chris and I, with another couple that we're friends with. And then Chris,
The Old Neighbors?
No, not The Old Neighbors. Okay. But we did a book club for The Housemaid, which was really good. And Chris had already previously read Ward D, and he was like, "Oh, you need to read this one so that we can talk about it." So, well, I do audiobooks too. I listen to audiobooks.
Yeah, my drive's not long enough for that, but my latest obsession has been the Vampire Knitting Club. So
yes, the
I got
cozy
Mom
read.
Obsessed with it too.
I love it.
It's so easy.
Circling way back to what I originally wanted to tell you. Guess how many downloads we're at?
How many?
Guess.
27.
We're at 96.
What?
We're almost at 100 downloads. Isn't that amazing?
Veronica, how many devices have you downloaded this on?
I know, right? It's all Veronica. We love you, Veronica. She's seriously our biggest cheerleader. She's so cute. Every time we put out a new episode, she texts us and is like, I just heard thumbs upstairs. That's either my husband coming home or it's a child out of bed. One will never know.
Dun, dun, dun.
I think it's my husband because the culprit that is usually the one getting out of bed is still in his bed. So I think we're good. But no, she always texts us and is quoting from the episode or telling us how much she loves it or that
she started saying that she started responding to some of the things we say. I've told some of my friends here about it. I don't know if any of them listen, but one of the gals I work with, she's like, "Oh, I love podcasts. What's yours called?" And so I was like, "Jen, it's called this." And so I don't know if she ever actually downloaded it.
I'm guessing they have because we've got a fair amount of downloads in Texas.
Woohoo!
The Colony, Texas, Louisville, Texas, Dallas, Texas.
Those are my
So,
people.
Yay!
Texas, represent.
Come through, Texas.
Howdy, y'all.
Howdy, y'all. But yes, I do have a very sad thing to report to you. We had tragedy strike this evening.
Oh no!
Directly before bed.
Oh dear.
My demon child.
He's my godson. You can't call him that.
I love that you knew which one I was talking about. No, I totally kid. He's such a lovely boy. He's just a boy. He's just a boy. He was playing. He's a meatball man. He was playing with his stuffed animal. I was trying to get him to go potty. He was playing with the stuffed animal instead on the counter and put his stuffy on the counter and immediately went bloop into the toilet. So our safety cuddly fell directly into the toilet right before bed. Of course, he's wailing and crying tears. I'm like, buddy, it's just he needs a tubby. Remember how
he has to go take a wash.
You get dirty sometimes and need a tubby. He needs one. So I immediately put him in the washing machine, and our washing machine has like a see-through top. Mm-hmm. And so I was holding him. I was like, look, he's just in there getting washed. And I put it on the gentle cycle, so he's like being switched around. And he's like, okay, when he dries off, I'll come bring him to you. So I put him to bed, and I'm downstairs getting ready. Like I'm eating dinner and then getting ready for the podcast.
It's going to be a pokey in the parking lot situation.
I hear him get up and like tiptoe over, and I hear like he's picked up this bathroom stool and is like shoving it into the laundry room so he can climb on top of it and look into the washing machine and watch his stuff animal get washed.
Subtle.
So I go up there, I'm like, Luke, go to bed. And I put him back. He did it like 3 times. He would not.
Really funny.
He just wanted to keep sneaking out and seeing his pingy in the washing machine.
Oh. Well,
so it's been an eventful evening.
I don't know what is going on with my kids tonight, but the amount of like snapping and yelling and fighting and all that. And Blair got a note sent home from her teacher. And yeah, I was just like, everyone needs to go to bed. They actually were talking this morning in the car. They were like, I don't think I'm fully recovered from Hawaii. I still feel very tired. I'm like, that's because you were up talking until almost 10 o'clock last night.
Tell me about Hawaii. You and I have not really spoken since you've gotten back.
It was very busy. Wonderful. They were really good on the plane. A friend of mine who flies to the UK with her kids pretty often said, go to the dollar store and spend $60, 30 on each kid, and just buy junk. But like, don't tell them what it is. Don't ever let them see it. And so then every like 40 minutes on the plane, can we have a new surprise? And so then I'd get the bag down. The poor man behind me was just trying to sleep, and I kept getting up to get stuff, but whatever. And so they were really good on the way there. They were very tired that first day because we got in at noon, which is like 8 p.m. our time. And so we didn't go to bed until 8 p.m. Hawaii time. Then everybody slept in. And then the next day we just kind of lounged around the hotel. We walked around town for a little bit, and then lots of downtime that day. But then we did like snorkeling where a sea turtle swam up and saw us. I had to like pull Blair back because I had heard they bite.
Do they really?
I don't know, but somebody said that. And I was like, do not touch that thing.
Crush. She just wants to be a surfer with Crush.
Yeah. And then I'm probably sure that's not good for them to be touched by us. Like we're journeying.
Probably not.
But then on the way back, our tour guides, or the guy who like runs the business, he was like, oh, look, there's a pot of whales. He's like, we have a few extra minutes. Let's go find out what they're up to. And so like we got to go whale watching on the same expedition. The next day we went out with our friends Kate and Max. They're wonderful. And she booked a pontoon boat. And so we like took a pontoon boat out in the ocean. It's like a lagoon, but it's a hammerhead breeding ground. And so we got to go we didn't see any hammerheads, but like we went over where that typically takes place. And then there's a sandbar in the middle of the lagoon. So you park your boat and you get out. And like John was like, it was like waist deep for him in the middle of this huge lagoon.
That's crazy.
Kids are out swimming. And then we did a glass bottom boat and got to see like fish on the bottom. Mm-hmm. And then the last 2 days we were there, we left the hotel and went to this like cottage. And I wish I had the option to book there the whole time, and I didn't because I thought we'd get bored. I wish I would have stayed there the whole time. It was fabulous. Yeah, there was an adult room and a kid room. There's a full kitchen. So we were able to go to the store and do like chicken nuggets and pizzas. And
because you guys were just in like a one room with like two double beds, and
there was no microwave even. It only had a little fridge.
That's rough.
It was fine, but like it was very expensive because you're eating out every meal. So the last 2 days
Hawaii is expensive, right?
Yes, very expensive. But the cottage it's on a military installation, so it's gated. So there's nobody on the beach, and it's literally 100 yards, not even 100 yards, probably 50 yards to the beach. So we just spent all day one day at the beach. The kids loved the waves, built sand castles. It was great.
Nice.
It was just a really great family vacation with enough downtime that nobody was cranky and angry, but we did enough to make it exciting.
Oh, they're going to remember that for the rest of their life.
Although, to Blair keeps saying, Sloan got to pick snorkeling and I wanted to zip line and you wouldn't take me because we ran out of time. So we promised her we'd take her zip lining in Texas. I'm sure it's
There's always something.
What about you? What have you guys been up to? I feel like you're on spring break this week.
Yeah, Nora's on spring break this week. We're not doing anything. I've been working all week. She's just gone to Chris's mom's all week, which is treat in itself for her because she loves her grandma and doesn't get to see her as much anymore.
Gaga.
She's in school full time.
Right?
Yeah.
Not Gaga. Gaga's Aunt Nancy.
Yeah. So she was really excited to get to do that. And Yaya always makes it special. They've made banana bread. They went and saw their cousins and played with them. So
does she only have Nora and Luke like Monday and Tuesday and then just Nora the rest of the week?
Yeah. So Luke always goes Mondays and Tuesdays.
Right.
So they both went Monday and Tuesdays. And then yesterday and today was just Nora.
Oh my gosh. I bet that's really special for her because most times she has to share her Yaya.
Yeah. So she's been having a good time. We've tried to do other things to kind of make it special. So it's just a good time. And then maybe next year we'll go somewhere. I don't know. She's 5, Luke's 3. Like, and next month, Chris is gone a bunch off of work for like a couple conferences and some other things, and so it's just like we don't really have the time to take off this month. So we didn't.
Spring break actually it was hard at my job because a lot of people took off, but it was actually like really great. It was awesome.
Well, I feel like you haven't taken a vacation, and even when you do take time off, you're still checking in and working. So being that far away on such a different time zone, you probably actually were forced to relax and disconnect.
I did. I still checked my email like once a day at least, but usually I'm sitting like by the time I got to it in the evenings, it's like 2:00 in the morning there, so nobody responded. So I still feel like I'm catching up. Like I still miss like there's a few things that happened that they're still talking about that I'm like, no, I wasn't here for that. You have to fill me in.
Yeah.
But overall, it was fine. Everybody did a really great job of filling in the gaps, and it was a very much. You're right. I haven't taken a vacation since November of 23. Yeah,
it's been too long.
Too long.
Yeah. So, and now you're going to take 2.
Take 2. I get to take a lot. This is going to be a long weekend in the Windy City. And then I found out today that they're holding my CNO conference in Chicago, the Windy City in November. Who wouldn't want to be there?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. That's not a great time to be here. It's better than like January, February, but we're going to make the best of it. Okay. Shall we move to, first, what are you drinking this evening?
Well, I started with the red because that's what we had with dinner, but I have my classic Chandon Rosé sparkling here. So
in a very fancy non-champagne glass.
Well, John hates these glasses. He bought them for me for Christmas, and there's 12 of them, and they stack, and I drink everything out of them now, whether that be sparkling water, regular water, champagne, milk, juice. It comes in this glass, and so he says the entire dishwasher is filled with them all the time.
You sound like a flight attendant. Milk, juice, champagne.
Occasional ginger ale. I've been drinking since I'm trying to do. I think I told you earlier this week, like 3 days without drinking. So I was doing like my aperitifs and like I bought a couple of those like fancy non-alcoholic type things, which I made sure they were non-alcoholic this time.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Everyone says you sleep better if you don't drink, but I had 2 terrible nights of sleep, but it wasn't because of not drinking. It was because the dog started throwing up in the middle of the night in one of them.
Nice.
And the other one, I don't remember what happened, but something woke us up and I was just like, what's the point of not drinking if this is still going to have crappy sleep? But
I'd rather just be drunk and fall asleep.
And at least then you wake up at 3 a.m. and know why you're awake. But no, so I'm just having a glass of this. It'll be good. So, and
nice.
I'll be good again tomorrow. But I've been at the gym every day this week, and I'm very proud.
I'm proud of you. Well done. That is truly difficult. 1 or 2 days.
I lost 20 pounds already and was like a size 0. I'd be happier, but
Well, I think that's probably a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
But you're doing a really good job, so I'm proud of you.
I've even started doing like the powdered greens because I don't get nearly enough vegetables. So I started doing
really into those.
The powdered greens, which the one I have right now tastes like a dirty tree branch.
You should ask Chris. He's got all kinds. He's got a whole cabinet full of concoctions. He's basically like a not a perfumery.
An apothecary?
What are those things? Apothecary. Thank you. I was like, perfumery is not the word I want. Apothecary. He's
I
basically an
tried, the guy at
apothecary.
Lifetime let me try the one that they are starting to produce. And I actually really, it wasn't, I mean, I wouldn't drink it like for fun, but it was
Yeah.
like a lemony, it had zing to it. This one literally tastes like dirt. Like they didn't even try to make it taste good. The one at Lifetime I liked. And then I bought the all-in-one protein powder because I usually intermittent fast and I don't eat breakfast, but then I'm not getting enough protein for what they are saying I need for the amount of workouts I'm doing. So this one's like a meal replacement. So for breakfast, I started drinking a protein thing that has 30 grams of protein.
The topic.
The topic.
So I picked this week, and I originally had a very focused topic, and then I started researching it and realized there wasn't nearly enough to talk about. So I broadened it a little bit with your approval. So the original topic that we wanted to talk about, which you probably know from the title of the episode, it was twin speak, and just like twin talk. They're like secret little language that a lot of twins develop and communicate with. But there's really not that much on it, because everything I read was like, it's not true. It doesn't exist. Well, it doesn't exist like a true made up language, but there's like, we'll talk about it. I got research that I'll go through as I normally do.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna while you're talking, I'm gonna start looking back through all my old videos. I bet I have something.
Ooh, okay. But so there wasn't enough of that, so I decided just to broaden out to like twins in general. So like twin speak, twin telepathy. I have a couple of interesting twin stories, and then Elise, for your part, you are surrounded by twins in your life.
I am inundated with twins, and I love every minute of it.
Yes, so you have twin baby girls. Mm-hmm. Your husband is a twin, and then you have several twin very close friends.
My best friends here in Texas are twins. My best friend from the Navy is a twin. And then there was another set of twins. Who am I forgetting? Well, those are the ones I reached out to. So
yes. So your homework was to reach out to them, get stories about twin speak or fun
or if they even thought stories. They did it. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So where shall we start? Do you have a preference? And then we might have a sneaky...
We might have a guest appearance if I can convince my husband to come out of his office.
Out of his cave.
So.
Okay. Should I maybe just go through the little bit of research I have while you finish pulling up what you have?
Yes.
Okay. So, as I normally do, I will leave any resources I use in the show notes below. So check those out if you would like to hear or read the full articles that I'm referencing. But essentially, the first kind of thing that I researched was that twins speak. And every article that I read basically was like, it's been disproven that there's any sort of like actual language that's being formed. When you see twins who communicate with like babbling, or it does sound like a made up language, but they seem to understand each other. They said it's really more usually one of the twins is not as proficient and developed in language and communication as the other one. And so they have trouble pronouncing words correctly or communicating. But the first, more dominant twin picks up on that and alters or mirrors their communication style to match that of the not as developed one. So it's more of a mirroring technique of poor communication that is like continues to develop as they get older, versus like them actually coming up with their own language and having the secret language to communicate with, which I thought was interesting because I just always thought it was like they just had this deep connection and can understand each other, but the research has shown that's not really the case. So I'm curious, what kind of maybe intermingling, what's your take on that? Like, do you think that the twins did have some sort of twin speak when they were little?
I definitely think they understood each other. And I won't be able to find it before the end of the episode because I didn't think to do this until just now, but I'm going to look. But there were times, especially, maybe not so much twin talk, but like to the point of what you were saying of one communicates better. I remember one of them would try and say something and the other one would be like, no, mommy, she said, and whatever it was. And like, I'm like, what?
Be like an interpreter.
But they would babble to each other. And in the car, even now, my kids think it's hilarious to look at each other and they go, and one of them will go, hey, Blair. And the other one will go, oh, Yakapachimini. And I'm like, what? And they're just like, they'll be like, Mom, you don't understand. You don't speak alien. But like they apparently are carrying on a conversation. So
That's so funny because Nora is not a twin, obviously, and she speaks in a little like made up language. It's kind of a combination of like gibberish. And did you ever see the movie Elemental, the Disney Pixar movie?
Yeah.
The one female character speaks Fire-ish,
Uh-huh.
the shasharishka and all that.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
I think that's where she originally started from, and then it's just developed, and she'll like babble to herself. She's not even talking to Luke; she just talks to no one.
It reminds me of Brave with the one son who's like, yes, y'all, everyone's like,
What?
But I remember when they were really little, they would babble at each other, and it was like, of course, it's fun as a mom to think, oh, they're creating their own language, but they literally like it's like they were plotting. One would like, they would do something and one of them would like grab a fork and start running. And I'm like, you shouldn't have that. And then as I turn around, the other one is like trying to climb up the stairs. So I'm like, oh my God,
it's a distraction.
What do I go after? And it's like, they had to have planned this. But I brought this up to my several sets of twins that I know. And the first thing John said was like, I hate questions like this. He's like, everyone says, what's it like to be a twin? And I just think, I don't know. I've never been anything else. And so he's just so
it's a really
funny.
good John impression.
Thank you. He doesn't like it when I impersonate him. He's like, I don't sound anything like that.
When he comes on, I'm going to ask him, so what's it like being a twin?
Please do. That'd be hilarious. And then you can't cut this part out. But he swears up and down that he and Christian didn't do that. Like they never twin talked. So I texted his mom. I was like, hey, did John and Christian twin talk? She goes, oh my gosh, yes. Didn't your girls? And I was like, well, they kind of do. They kind of did. And she was like, they did it all the time. And I screenshot what his mom said and I sent it to John. He was like, that's bullshit.
That's funny.
And Christian, I think, is underway because he hasn't responded. But so then my friend Shannon is in Spain, but her twin is in Virginia. And so I texted them both on WhatsApp. And Callie was like, oh, my mom swears that we twin talked all the time. And we kind of, we can talk about this later in the episode about how their perception of their childhood is so different from what, like theirs is the same as what happened, but it's so different than their sister who's like 5 years older than they are because they were raised the exact same way at the exact same time. So it's a really interesting case study in nature versus nurture. But then the other piece of it is I remember her telling me a long time ago that when she and Shannon were really little, that they would walk places together and Kelly was much less like outgoing, which is not the case anymore. But Shannon would be like, this is me. This is my sister. We're twins. I'm the loud one. She's the soft one. Like would just like talk for Kelly. And Kelly would be like, And then my friends, Eunice and Eudora, I was texting with them and Eudora was like, no, we never did that. We're not smart enough for another language. I was like, Eudora, you already speak two. I think a third would have made the rest of us feel ridiculous because they both speak Korean as well as English. So she doesn't think they did it, but sadly their mom passed away a couple of years, late last year, late in 23 or early 24. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time remembering. And so I couldn't ask Stephanie what the scoop was.
The scoop. That's interesting that so many of the actual twins said, no, we don't. But then
their moms,
like the moms or whatever, like, yeah, they did. So it's interesting that they don't recall that or remember it. But I guess if usually happens when you're very young. So maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, it's interesting what you mentioned before about the how they are raised together in the nature versus nurture. Because that kind of leads into what I expanded into. Oh, before I do that, did you know that twin speak actually has a scientific name?
What is it?
So it's cryptophagia is the technical term for the invention of twin speak. So the next thing I kind of like segued into, since that was kind of like, no, it doesn't exist in a story, was kind of like the twin connection and general twin telepathy, et cetera, and similar to the twin speak, it's kind of been debunked and disproven, but there's a lot of more anecdotal sort of examples of this, and the most scientists agree that, kind of back to what you were saying earlier about how they are raised the same, is it has to do with the fact that and it's much more common in identical twins than it is fraternal. is because you share genes, right? And then you have the same external factors. You're raised the same generally, like environment, morals, etc. But they said there's a genetic component to how you respond to stimuli, and because identical twins share those genetics, they tend to A, respond the same way, and then B, kind of know how the other is going to respond between that and then obviously just spending so much time together. So that's really more of where the sort of like telepathy aspect of it comes from, they are saying. But there's been lots of studies that have like sort of tried to replicate it between like, you know, putting them in separate areas and seeing if they can guess like what card was selected, or having them fill out tests to see if they have the same answers. And they've been kind of like mixed results. But like there hasn't been any statistical significant evidence that there's any sort of like telepathic communication between twins. But I think the study has kind of geared more towards how does that nature versus nurture impact twins. And so that's been really kind of more interesting, I think, than the sort of woo-woo other telepathics. I don't really buy into that either, but the whole nature versus nurture scientific side of it has been really interesting to kind of delve into a little bit more.
I'm trying to find a picture of John and Christian when they were younger, because they look less alike now that they're older. But I'm trying to find
John
a
and
picture
Christian.
of them.
I feel like they still look pretty alike.
They do look a lot alike, but not as much as when they were younger. Their mom has this poster of them when they were in Japan.
Didn't they do modeling when they were in Japan?
They did. I'll let him tell you the story about how she bleached his hair. But anyway, but like they look
hi, Ducky.
So much alike. Anyway, but I think that is interesting, because John and Christian, even though they're very different people because they've had different life experiences at this point, they do respond. Even their mannerisms are the same, like the way they talk about things. And when they get like really passionate about something, that their hand signals and all of that are the same.
It's really funny watching them in a room together too, because like you just kind of like it's like a wind up toy. You just like kind of wound it up and let it go and watch them, and they're just like ping pong, ping pong.
And that's
ping,
what
pong,
their
ping,
older
pong.
brother loves to do, is start something, and he'll like literally sit back and like be like, hey,
and go.
Yeah. So, well, here's one. It says that's too blurry to show on the camera, but yeah, they look. I mean, I can't tell them apart in some of their high school pictures. And then when they're young, his mom can't even be. She's like, I don't even remember which one's which. And
really? I feel like the easiest way to tell them apart now is Christian has a birthmark.
Well, he had that removed.
Or a mole.
He had it removed. Yeah, he's a little scar from it. You can still see. But but earlier, that is exactly right. But he had it removed. But it is interesting. Yes, for sure. Because my girls, like their mannerisms are quite different. But they do everything together. And a lot of that is like, I feel like if they were different ages, I would take one and the other would stay, but they both want to do everything. So we just end up going together. So they don't get an opportunity to be individuals super often, which is part of why we separated their classes.
You talk a little bit about that, sort of like how you think about wanting to encourage them to be their own individual person.
And actually they're not going to have to listen to this, so it's fine. But this week especially, like, so Sloan got what's called the Crusader Award for being like an outstanding, like basically the humanitarian. Like, I don't know, she's a good person, which is great. She got an outstanding report card. Her teacher wrote me a note and was like, she is just the best student, all of this. She's like popular. Like, she's got her super tight 2 little girlfriends that she's really close with. And then a 3rd little girl whose birthday party we went to won some prize, like on bidding for the gala that's coming up. And the mom was like, she wants Sloan to be her person. Like, she's kind soul to everyone. Like, I'm really proud of that. And then there's Blair.
Blair Bear.
And it's not fair, because if Blair was a boy, she would be given so many, and I know that sounds sexist, but I truly believe that, like, she's just more rambunctious. She's has a harder time sitting still. It's not that she doesn't follow the rules, but like she has a hard time hearing the rules. And like, we've had her tested for ADD and she's just not enough. She's getting good grades. Like, it's just not enough to want to put her on medicine or take interventions. But it's like, for a teacher, if for whatever reason, I feel like becomes much more frustrating to deal with a girl who's like that. Like there are boys in her class who have special chairs to sit on that have like sensory pads to help keep them in their seat. And like Blair just gets notes sent home. And she was like her best friend from last year is in a different class. And so she's had to make new friends, and she just really like, she likes everybody. And she's like the person who gets along with everyone. She's a lot more like Sloane's a lot more like you. She has her like core group. And then Blair's just like everybody's friend.
Yeah.
So, although I will say that there are only 2 kids at kindergarten graduation who both got standing ovations. So I have no idea what that was about, but it happened.
Your 2 girls got standing ovations?
Yes. Even one of my mom friends was like, what's up with Blair and Sloane getting standing ovations when they walked across the stage? I was like, I have no idea.
That's amazing. I feel like Nora is like a little celebrity superstar at her school, strictly because I feel like she's there so much. Like, call me a mommy monster if you want, but I work full time and Chris works full time, and so she's
aftercare and all that. Yeah, I feel like
so she's dropped off at like 7:15, and I pick her up right at 5. And she's just a sociable little kid, and she's funny because she'll walk her up and she'll be like, "Who are you?" And then she'll be like, "Why do you have that watch on?" She just is very like doesn't know a stranger kind of.
That's how Blair is. She's very abrupt, and Sloane's more subtle. She'll be like, "Well, hi, what's your name?" And Blair's like, "We're playing unicorns over here. If you want to play, you got to be honeysuckle, and that's all you have to choose from."
That's how Nora is. She's much more abrupt. But it seems like everybody in the school knows her. So whenever she's like at something, she's like saying hi to everyone. All the big kids are coming up and want to give her hugs. All the teachers are always like, "Oh, hi, Nora." Like, I don't even know who you are, but you know my daughter.
Yeah, it's funny when I drop them off, and they have a he's called the Guardian, like because the police department stopped, or we had a grant to help fund the police department having an officer at the school, and the diocese grant ran out, and so the gala last year, part of it was to raise enough money to support the salary of a armed officer at the school, because we didn't at the time, we didn't have a fence around the property or anything, and so we did, and we hired him, and I was walking in, he was like, he points this, like, that one, she's real good, she's real sweet. He goes to Blair, goes, that one, she's a pistol.
You're not
and then
wrong.
I was like on the Veterans Day program, I was sitting in there, and I got there super early because I just did, I guess, I don't know, because it's Veterans Day, and if you're on time, you're late. But I was sitting in there, and the janitor, or the gentleman who does a lot of the janitorial duties, he goes, "Wait, you're the twins' mom?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I love those girls."
Aww.
Like, thanks.
They're pretty awesome.
Oh man. And I just love that my best friend here, Eudora, her sons are in 2nd and kinder. So they sandwich the girls. And like on Grandparents' Day this last year, John's uncle came, and we had all 4 of them. And so they're just, I don't know, like they're really good at including everyone.
Yeah.
Which is a hard skill to learn.
It is a hard skill to learn. But do you feel like this year having them in separate classrooms has really helped them kind of get their own identities?
I mean, last year I think was really important to that. But I adored Blair's kindergarten teacher. She was phenomenal. She was like a very tough love person. Like, I think I told you the story one time, they all lined up and Blair was being fidgety. He said, "Blair, stand behind your desk." And then the line left. And she realized when she was counting that she had forgotten to tell Blair she could leave behind her desk. And she walked in, and Blair was still standing behind her desk, but sobbing. And she just like rushed to her and like got on her knees. Was like, "Blair, I'm so sorry." But like, number one, I'm really proud of my kid for following the direction for that long. Number 2, I love that response, because we all jack up, right? And then I love that she also, like, Blair didn't even mention it to me, but the teacher emailed me about it, and I asked Blair, and she was like, "Yeah, meh." And then Sloane's kindergarten teacher is like she gets really nervous around adults. So she was really quiet, but she's fabulous with the kids. And Sloane's a good listener, so it was great. This year, it's been really interesting because Blair's teacher has been a senior tenured principal, and she's decided she missed being in the classroom. And so it's been interesting. She's done a really great job. And I think that she's got a lot of like the tough love that Blair needs, but I think she's still very much in principal mindset. Yeah. And that's why Blair gets like, "You have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this." And Sloane's teacher is younger, but she's pretty strict, but she's just like very loving. So it's just, I don't know, the school does a good job of picking where they go, but it has been really good for them. I found in pre-K, they had the most phenomenal pre-K teacher in the entire world, but they still got compared to each other. I mean, I compare them sometimes, so I can't
Yeah.
imagine a teacher not having to do that, and that's not fair to either of them.
Yeah, they both have strengths and weaknesses, and I said it's not fair.
Yeah.
I always am very thankful, at least I don't feel this way, that our parents didn't really compare us growing up.
I never felt like that either.
So I think they did a really good job of that. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I know you're listening.
You guys are great.
So yes, I don't know, a kid wants to be compared to a sibling and be found lacking. So,
and it wasn't that necessarily like, oh well, Blair's going to get a worse grade because Sloan did better, but it was more of like, well, Blair, your sister's acting behaving, why can't you? And I'm just like, no, nobody wants to hear that.
No, absolutely not.
But it was interesting looking at the report cards today. Like Sloan did really well across the board, and they both have all A's. Like I'm not upset about anything, but the subjects that one of them did much, like Blair had like a 99 in math, and Sloan had like a 94. Like, that's interesting. And Blair had like 100% in art. And she had 100% in music, and I think Sloan had 100% in music too. But like Blair loves history, so she did like a little better in history. So I think it's really interesting to see like their personal interests come out, even just through the grade book.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I've got.
I feel like all we've done is talk about our kids this episode. Sorry, team. You're practicing your English. This is great.
It's our podcast. We can talk about what we want. If you don't like it, go start your own podcast. So I've got 2 interesting stories about twins that I found.
Do you want to this be a good time to bring John in for his reaction?
Yeah, that's a good. Let's do that.
Can I unplug the headphones? Do you think it'll still work?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Okay. Surprise! We have a guest appearance today. We have John Woodside, Elisa's husband. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here. How you doing, Bree?
Good. So I don't know if Elise told you what the episode today is, but we're talking about twins, which
she told me like 10 minutes before, so it's practically a surprise. But
so, John, tell us, what is your experience like being a twin?
So one question I've always had trouble with is actually, because people ask all the time, it's always maybe one of the first ones that come out, is how do you feel about being a twin? And I don't there's nothing wrong with the question, but I have no basis for comparison because I've never not been a twin. You don't get to live 2 lives. One is, I think it probably goes for folks that, are single children or have lots of a big family too. It's kind of hard to be objective about it. But the experience, I think it was good. I think if you have a good relationship with your twin, and I don't know a twin that doesn't, honestly.
The 2 little boys across the street hate each other per their parents.
They like each other now. That was just a little boy thing, and they're great. I think they're actually a delight, in case anyone's listening. But they're great. But we always tried to separate because we thought it would be good for us objectively, because we didn't want to get, it's good to get out of your comfort zone and stuff. But kind of were forced to be together, and that is advantageous when you're navigating the world. So, for example, we went to college. We went to the same school because we had the same interests, which is not surprising. We were both running cross country there, and we wanted to go get separate roommates and branch out. But then our coach forced us to the athlete dorm, and he forced us to be roommates because he wanted to make sure we were on the same sleep schedule and all that stuff. So, we tried our best, but honestly, that was very easy because we were on the same schedule. You knew your roommate. There weren't problems that folks have with, meeting new strangers and not getting along. So I'd say my experience is largely advantageous and stuff like that. We joined the Navy together, so we got to support each other and go through those experiences and whatnot. And you always have somebody there to kind of, relate to.
I will say, though, earlier in the episode, I was like, oh, we should ask John what his experience is like being a twin. And Elisa's like, I know exactly how he's going to answer that. And you answered literally word for word how she said you were going to.
It's not like a bad question or offensive. I can't. It's hard to answer. Yeah,
absolutely. Do you have some of what we've been talking about today has just been the deep connection that twins have, and it started out. I wanted to talk about twin speak, which my research was basically shut down of it doesn't exist. It's not a thing. And so I was like, okay,
John.
Yeah.
So that was like, well, what about the term they use is twin telepathy. I don't believe in telepathy, but just those nature versus nurture, and they said sharing genetics can have you respond to the same to different stimuli in your environment, which some people say it's because they're twins, they respond the same way, or they could finish each other's sentences. I'm just curious if you have any instances that you remember just having sort of that sixth sense or whatever, working with Christian, or kind of were able to pick up something that he was, experiencing or finishing each other's sentences?
So we were banned from playing Pictionary with each other on the same team because we would just destroy people. And we were banned from playing cards like, card games like Spades and stuff where you have signals and stuff. So we're very good at it. But to your point about like telepathy and six and stuff.
On the same euchre team?
Yeah, we'll kill you guys at euchre. So is that like, I think it's just twins are more alike than fraternal twins, identical twins. And fraternal twins are more alike than siblings. And siblings are more alike than cousins. But all of those are more alike than random people. I think it's the nature with the nurture, right? Because you're growing up in the same environment, which matters. And you also have 99% of the DNA. Fraternal twins are genetically the same as a brother and sister, but they're the exact same age, going through the exact same thing at the same time. So they'll seem more in tune than a random brother and sister. But I don't think it really goes beyond that, if you know what I mean. But I mean, we have the same biology, went to the grades at the same time. We were always in different classes and stuff. So we are more in tune, I think, than most siblings. And I will tell you, Brianna, because I know this is a podcast about parents and stuff too, I am shocked about how much more nature matters than I ever thought it did. Because I try so many things to create a good environment for the kids and do the baby books and all this. And sometimes it's just like, I mean, because, we've got fraternal twins. And it's like, well, Blair's going to be Blair and Sloane's going to be Sloane. Christian and I were much more alike than our fraternal twins are.
Are you and Christian identical?
Yeah, we are. But Blair and Sloane, I think, are much more alike than any two random siblings.
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting to me as well, because I don't think that Blair and Sloane really look that much alike at all. Like, they look like they're siblings, but they don't look the same. But I've experienced it, and Elise, you say all the time that people have a hard time telling them apart. So it's just interesting to me that people find them.
They're always together. You know what I mean? But like Sloane is very compassionate and sensitive to others, and Blair is very like emotional and creative. And so I don't know. And Blair's hair doesn't grow.
Yeah, they're also the same size at the same time. So it's not like you're comparing 4-year-old Blair to 6-year-old Sloane like you would with siblings. So
that's true.
I'll tell you though, if you put them with their 3 cousins, who all have 3 different, got 2 cousins with my sister-in-law, they got, the cousin with my brother, so different moms. If you put them all together, you see all 5 of them at different stages in life, they all look a lot like.
I mean, there are pictures of Hannah as a baby or like a 2-year-old that look exactly like Sloane. And there are pictures of Charlotte as an infant and a little girl that look exactly like Blair. But we talk about this too, is technically Hannah and Charlotte are genetically 50% John, and Blair and Sloane are genetically 50% Christian.
Like 49.9.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like 99.9. So yeah, and so like they look like their other cousin, like my brother Aaron's kid too. But like if you put all 5 of them in a lineup to a stranger, you would know which 4 belong to Christian and which 4 belong to Aaron immediately.
And I don't know that I've seen a picture of Aaron's daughter recently, but she doesn't have the fair complexion that all your and Christian
her mom's
kids
Italian,
do.
Okay. And Aaron's got black hair and the rest of us don't. So yeah.
Aaron has no hair.
Well, he's bald.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
We love you, Aaron.
Last question for you, John, and you're welcome to stay to listen to my interesting twin stories as well if you'd like. Obviously, being a twin yourself and being raised, is there anything that you did different as a parent raising your twins because of your experience being raised as a twin?
Good question.
That's all I have is good questions.
That's a good question.
While he's thinking, I will say that we do.
You bully him out of the way.
We do model a lot of our parenting style off Christian and Leanne because they had children. Hannah was 5 when the girls were born, and Charlotte was about to turn 3 or whatever, close to those ages. And so, just they had done it, and I think that they're such phenomenal parents. So we've mirrored a lot of our parenting style off of what they did, which I think means our kids react a lot more similarly to stimuli than what August would or what other children would, just because they, number one, they lived together until we moved here and we all lived in the same place. And number 2, I spent so much time and John spent so much time with Hannah and Charlotte when they were really little that's how we learned to parent, was how Christian and Leanne did it.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I'll say one thing that I do less this might just be an identical fraternal thing too, is I'm very much less twinsy on like their outfits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like not matching, and I was always red and Christian was always blue. And maybe that was just for like the sanity of getting ready in the morning and knowing where everything goes and all that. But I think that the biggest difference is since I had an older brother, I think I was raised differently than mine that don't have other siblings. Because, he went first. And so then everything was done based on the experiences beforehand. And like Aaron would have a birthday, and then Christian and John's birthday was kind of treated the same. So like we would share a present, and Aaron would get like a present. It was like a one event instead of two events at the same time. And I don't have that problem because they don't have another sibling, but I maybe somewhere some deep PTSD or something. I think I really try and make them very like independent and treat each of their activities that they pick and stuff like not as a group option. I mean, they usually do the same things, but like I try and probably over push like making sure that they don't have to do something just because their sister's doing it or whatnot.
And that's one thing that we talk about is that we need to do a better job of, if I go to Target, I could take one of them and he could take the other one to Lowe's, and then we can switch and working through that.
Okay.
Do you have a minute to listen to her story and give your feedback as an expert on
You're welcome to stay, but you will not hurt our feelings.
But a servant, whatever you guys need.
He can stay.
Okay. All right. So we'll wrap this up. I've got two interesting twin stories. So this first one is about twins who were separated at birth, but they had very similar life circumstances, interesting enough. So we have one twin, James, aka Jim Lewis, and then we have the other twin, James, aka Jim Springer. So they were born in Ohio. They were separated at birth at 3 months old. They were adopted, and they lived about 45 miles apart from each other. So they were adopted in 1940. Both of their adoptive parents named them James. So they changed the name at birth. The parents didn't know what the other person named them. They were both named James. They both had a dog named Toy growing up. They both excelled at math and carpentry, but not at spelling. They both married someone named Linda, divorced them, and then married someone named Betty. They both named their sons James Allen, and then obviously with different last names. They both worked in field of law. So one was a security guard. James Allen Lewis was a security guard. Or excuse me, Jim Lewis was a security guard. James Allen was the son. And then James Allen was a deputy sheriff. They both drove a Chevy, and they both were chain smokers. And so they met each other finally when they were, I think in their 30s or 40s. I am looking at the article I have, and it's not here in front of me. But they obviously lived a majority of, a good chunk of their life without knowing each other. But they had all of these shared experiences, even though they didn't know each other at all. And I just thought that was really interesting and very unlikely. But I mean, it's kind of weird that they married the same people, divorced, married the same people again, had the same dog growing up named. I mean, what are the odds of that?
Because I'm like really into heuristics and numeracy and stuff. I've got thoughts on this, right? Because you've written enough iterations to something. So the most surprising thing to me is that they both married a lady named Linda. The middle name of their kids matched. And then they got divorced, and the second lady did it better. Because like naming your kid after yourself is not that crazy, right? Mm-hmm. Being born in the same year and having like one of the most popular male names, for that birth year, not insane. Being in rural Ohio, I assume, and smoking and driving a truck in the 40s is not that crazy, right? So on and so forth.
Stop being so rational.
But I mean, so and you do that across thousands and millions of couples, you're gonna find something like that. But like, yeah, the wives, the middle names of the kids, the
dog was what got me. Like Toy
is pretty wild. I think that's kind of 1 in a million. That's where they're
right?
winning the lottery on that one.
Toy is not a common dog name, and they both had a dog named Toy growing up. Like that's just so. Yeah. How does that even happen?
Those are the parts of that story that get me. Those are the really random.
I know.
Yeah.
So the second story that I have, this is more of a kind of like true crime, interesting one, and you may have heard the story before, but it's the story of the Silent Twins. Have you heard of this one before?
If it's a crime one, I've heard of the one that got off because they couldn't prove what twin it was, but I don't know about this story.
No, it's not that one.
Okay.
So again, this is from an article from a website called All That's Interesting. I'll have all of the links down below. And I summarized this really, really condensed. So the article that I read was really interesting. It kind of went into a lot more depth and detail, but I'll I summarized it into kind of 4 paragraphs, so I will read that for you. So born in 1963, Barbadian immigrant parents living in Wales had June and Jennifer Gibson, and they became known as the Silent Twin. Oh, Gibbons, excuse me, Gibbons. They became known as the Silent Twins because they spoke exclusively to each other in their own special language, which was a modified version of Baja Creole, and they didn't speak to anyone else. And at first they did speak to their parents, but eventually that even went away, and they didn't speak to anyone except for each other. They were the only Black children at their school, and they faced significant bullying, which pushed them further into isolation and dependency on each other. And so they mirrored each other's actions, and they refused to communicate with outsiders, including their parents. Despite their silence towards each other, the twins developed a passion for creative writing, publishing stories about Americans involved in criminal activities, and just kind of like everyday life. But they weren't actually like out there living it. They had become very sort of recluse and like living retreating basically to like their bedroom and not speaking with anyone. But eventually their withdrawal from society evolved into criminal activity and behavior, petty theft and arson, and that led them to being arrested and then being placed in Broadmoor at a high security mental hospital. So they were in there for 12 years, and while they were in there, they didn't speak to anyone except for each other. There was one journalist who took an interest in them and was working with them, and they did eventually start to talk to her a little bit, but for the most part continued to be silent. So in 1993 they were finally approved to be transferred to a lower security prison, and during the transfer, Jennifer, one of the twins, mysteriously died from they said it was sudden heart inflammation, but they don't really know what led to that. But immediately following her sister's death, June began speaking normally to everyone. Like she had been doing it her entire life. Like she never had an issue. And June later suggested that her and Jennifer had somehow planned for one of them to die, so that the other could live a normal life. So they had formed this like very strange psychological connection that only one of them could survive. And she stated that, they had made a pact. They weren't going to speak to anybody, but one of them needed to pass for this pact to sort of end, so the other one could go on and live for the one that passed away. So that journalist, Marjorie Wallace, she documented their story and managed to gain their trust enough to communicate with them. And through their diaries, Wallace discovered that despite their inseparable bond, the twins harbored intense feelings of animosity towards each other. And June viewed Jennifer, the one that passed, as a dark shadow, while Jennifer considered June a fatal enemy. So their silence appeared to not just be a rejection of the outside world, but also a complex manifestation of their complicated relationship with each other. So they had these two girls. So that's the article very quickly summarized. So the two girls, twins, kind of go through traumatic events in their childhood, bullying. They stop talking to anyone except for each other, get imprisoned, and then they somehow, the one twin even said at one point to that journalist that was working with them, this is the last time that I'm going to see you. I've decided, it's my turn to die. She said something along those lines, like she kind of told the journalist that she was going to die, and then during that transfer she did. So it was a really interesting story to me between, it popped up when I was originally looking at that twin speak, like research, but just the psychological dependency that these two girls had developed to each other. And that as soon as the one passed that seemed to be sort of the dominant one that was enforcing this silence pact, the other one immediately reverted back to being just like a normal communicative person. It was just really interesting.
That's like a trauma story, and it's always kind of fascinating and tragic to see what humans will do to cope when they're like put in terrible situations and whatnot. But like, I guess my only thoughts without going deeper into that is twins are great for these sorts of studies, because without being super unethical, it's very hard to see what two exact same people, nature-wise, are going to do if you put them in different environments, raise them in different ways, treat them differently, to like study how human psychology and biology will react. So, it's sad, probably interesting to study.
Have you seen the movie A Simple Favor? That's what it makes me think about, like the Blake Lively character, how they're twins, and like how they're so similar, and then they make a terrible decision, and then one's life, spirals down into drugs and all sorts of stuff. And the other one appears successful on the surface. But anyway.
Go watch The Prestige. It's a much cooler movie about twins.
Prestige is a good movie. And also,
Yeah.
I am not a fan of Blake Lively.
I have no
Everything that's come out between her and Justin Baldoni, I'm like, she is crazy.
So I know nothing about celebrities, and I know nothing about Blake Lively. I just don't like that movie.
I just want to look like her.
I mean, she is very pretty, but she is a psycho. Crazy. That's the sound you keep hearing.
Yeah, that's it. She keeps banging the microphone. We're number one listener. That sound, everybody, is at least.
I have to stop it. I have to edit that out. Stop it. Well, that's all I have on twins. Any final words, John? Thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, let's tell him about his segment starting next episode.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna start a segment next episode called Correction Couch, where you get to just read your grievances. The previous
episode. His grievances on my storytelling and read them to the audience.
So the grievances specifically about this podcast or just in general? Because when would it have been? 2011?
I don't know, John. When did we meet?
No. That has nothing to do with you. But back before podcasts were even like a thing, folks at my job told me I needed to have a radio show because I say things. It's like, but what would I even sell or do? And they were like, opinions. You would sell opinions. It's like, I don't think that's a product that's viable out in the market for me to just bloviate all day, even though I probably could. So
there are plenty of people who have built a media empire on opinions.
Go on. I'm sorry?
So there are plenty of people who have built a media empire on opinions.
Yeah. That's true.
I wish you were as rich as Elon Musk.
That's not one of those people. But
I think most of what he does is based on opinion.
I don't know. I think most of what he does is what a 14-year-old edgelord would do if they had $1 billion. So that's just
Goodbye.
See, there's an opinion. Okay,
there's an opinion for it.
I'll think about it. All right.
Thanks, John.
I'm gonna buy you a special hat for that. We could film it. He gets it on the couch, and we could light the fireplace behind him, and he could sit there with a little cup of whiskey and say, "This is the corrections couch."
Oh my gosh, that we should do that. Just cut in a little segment.
It's 42 seconds of when she said that Blair was the name she chose. I liked that name before.
At minute 52, they state.
You should send the raw cuts to him and be like, I need this back tomorrow because it takes at least a week to get these back.
I'll just start CCing him. Whoever gets back first wins.
Unless I say something mean, don't do that then.
No, I always cut you off.
I would never say something mean about my lovely, perfect, wonderful husband.
There you go. I feel like it's very rare that you come back with an edit of something that needs to be removed that I missed. I feel like I usually catch
I think maybe twice, yeah. And it mostly was just because it was crass or
when you stated a medical thing incorrectly, which I
right. I didn't want to sound like an idiot on the air.
Idiot. Well, that's all I've got on twins. Any last words, Elise?
I have heard that anyone who has a singleton and then twins talks about how hard it is. Anyone who has twins and then a singleton is like, oh, this is easy.
I like that you could refer to a single child as a singleton.
A singleton. And then I have so many people that are like, oh, I always wanted twins. And my immediate response is, not if you value sleep.
Right? It's true. All right. Well, on that fun note, we will wrap this up. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys, to talk about twins and the crazy.
Stay tuned for Corrections Couch next episode.
Corrections Couch. That's right. We should start that. I actually really like that.
Maybe we could film it separately and then add it in.
We'll have to rope John into doing it. I feel like we wouldn't have to twist his arm too hard. He kind of likes.
I don't think so at all. He's like, no, I have serious grievances I want aired.
He's chomping.
I want a reduction.
So, if you have, this might be a dangerous box to open, lid to open, but if you all have grievances, let us know what they are, and John will read them in Corrections Couch.
Oh, and he'll read them I bet I can't get him to read them in an accent, but he'll read them with passion.
He will read them with passion. Speaking of that, we are on social media, Chit-Chat-Cheers-Podcast. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and if you want to watch the video of this, you can watch on YouTube. We post those as well.
I am in my pink robe, as is customary.
as is the usual. I also have to give myself a pat on the back. I have been much better about posting clips to social media, so I will continue to do that. I'm aiming to have 2 clips per episode, and I have a backlog now, so I'm getting caught back up to current episode. But I've been getting more diligent with that, and we were getting like anywhere from like 100 to 140 views on each clip. We got one like. We got a random like, and we got a random follower on our Instagram.
I should wear
really
something
exciting.
other than a bathrobe then.
Oh,
We're becoming popular. Popular. We're gonna be popular.
I don't know that one follower.
There's a reason neither of us are on Broadway, by the way.
One like constitutes popular, but
we are popular, okay? You have to choose. Do you want to be Elphaba, which you're wearing black and green right now, and I am wearing pink, so I kind of feel like I should be Glenda, but I mean, can you handle?
I feel like you give Glenda energy.
I do. I can't combat that.
You're Glenda. I don't know that
I wish she was nicer in the beginning, but I haven't even seen the video. Everyone tells me it's great, but I'm just the way you feel about who were we talking about earlier that you didn't care for? Oh, Blake Lively is how I feel about Ariana Grande. I don't dislike her. I just don't like her music. Like, it's just not my jam.
That's fair.
Although if she wants to buy me a ring or diamonds or whatever she bought her girls in that one song, I'll take it. But
different strokes for different folks. I will say, I personally am an Ariana Grande fan. I like her music. I think you would like her most recent album much more than the one that you're Thank You Next, which is the one you're thinking of. Her most recent album is much
more mature.
More mature, yeah. A lot of the songs are actually really sad because it's kind of centers around her marriage falling apart. She was broken up with now. So I don't know if you know the drama. She was married, then started filming Wicked. One of her co-stars, Ethan Slater, and her started dating. They both divorced their current spouses. They've been dating, but they've since broken up. So, but the songs are a lot more mature and like about.
So the song that she had talking about how she only wanted to do it once, not so much.
Not so much. No.
Mm-hmm. I think she has great talent. I think that her vocal range is fabulous. I think I'm just like a slightly too old generation for her.
That's fair. I also don't agree with a lot of her personal decisions. As a musician and a singer, I really like her music. I think she's very talented, but her personal decisions in her life, I
know nothing about them, so I have no idea if I agree or disagree. But I don't know. She just wanted. We all have our people that we love. Like I'm a little monster. Love Lady Gaga. Girl, they were playing in the dentist's office. They were playing Whitney Houston, and I was just like, "This is my jam." When I clean the house, I played. There's like this best of Celine Dion CD that I remember listening to in high school. I blast that when I clean. And Sloan, every time she's like, "Mommy, can we play your favorite music while we clean?" I was like, "You're not going to understand the power of love, okay? You're not going to get it." I just want to
understand. It's like you got your heart broken. All right, we are going to let you guys go. Follow us on social media, Chit-Chat Cheers Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe this episode and all the episodes, and also download because the downloading really helps. We need 4 more to get to 100. Get us to 100, guys.
Come on, guys. Get to 100.
We can do
Get
this.
us to 100, and we'll give you a phone call and leave a voicemail on your message machine.
That only applies if we know your number and we know who you are. I'm not calling random people.
When you subscribe, leave your number.
That's more bad advice.
Actually, don't do that. There's creepers out there.
We need to give Elise a course in internet safety.
The girls told me that, but they were like, "Mommy," they asked me to look something up, and I did. And they're like, "Mommy, is this a safe site?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, in school, if you don't know who they are, you're not supposed to talk to them. I was like, I like what they're saying.
That is a good point.
Yes, Amazon is fine.
All right. We love you guys so much. Thanks for listening. We will catch you in a couple weeks. Bye.
Bye.